We have with us Randi Zuckerberg, founder and CEO of Zuckerberg Media, and of course sister of Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, speaking to ET Now. Thank you so much, Randi, for taking out the time. You're of course juggling a lot of hats, I see, from being an entrepreneur to somebody who has a buy in technology as well, TV producer as well, a mother. So let me start by asking you that, how do you bring in technology to make your life easy when you wear so many hats?
Oh gosh, well I think technology, it can be both a wonderful blessing and a challenge because these devices that we all have, that's what's enabling me to be here in India right now, speaking and traveling away from my family. At the same time, I think it's very easy when we have those devices to just be working all the time, to be connected all the time. So for me, my general rule is that technology should bring you closer to the things you love, not come in between you and the things you love.
Fair enough. You have an idea of disruptive technology that's happened, that's taking place around the world. If one were to really talk about top 3 tech trends that you think are truly disruptive or game-changing, what would that be according to you?
Sure. I think virtual reality is incredibly game-changing right now. We're seeing so many innovations in augmented and virtual reality. Most of the innovations there right now are in gaming and entertainment, but for me, when I think about the promise, I think about it for medicine, for business, and what that's going to mean. There was actually a surgeon who conducted open heart surgery on a fetus using virtual reality to guide the surgery. So that, to me, that I think is a big one. Artificial intelligence, everything from self-driving cars to personal assistants who are computers. That's really something that I think we're going to start seeing very quickly in our lives. Even a lot of businesses have automated customer support now. So, and of course, with all of these innovations come challenges, because what happens to job creation when you do hand more over to artificial intelligence. But on the lighter side, I'm also seeing a really interesting trend around unplugging. People who used to be very, very tech savvy all the time are now trying to take more time unplugged and away from their devices. So that's more of a lifestyle trend.
Of course. I'll come to the artificial intelligence bit in some time. But, if we were to talk about the impact on India, it is the fastest growing market in terms of smartphones. There is demographic dividend as well that we talk about. So what do you think can actually have the most lasting impact for India?
Well, I think first and foremost we have to think about getting internet access to everyone in the country, because as long as you have a population that's so divided with access to technology and internet, and a vast number of the population that doesn't, there's just going to be more and more of a divide in opportunity. People who have access to technology that are able to start their children young in STEM education and coding, by the time they're in university, there's such a divide that it's almost insurmountable to make that up if you haven't had that access to tech. So I think that's the #1 thing that I know I'd love to see in this country that I think could make the biggest impact very quickly.
We talked about artificial intelligence, but how soon do you think it could actually have an impact on a daily basis? How far away are we from seeing that situation?
I think the technology is there today. I think it's more around the government and legal regulations that's going to hold up artificial intelligence from becoming part of our lives. For example, self-driving cars. I was just at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. I rode in a self-driving car. It was scary, but it was exciting. But I think what's holding up that technology is not the car being ready, it's all of the things around it. What happens when you have self-driving cars and people-driven cars on the road at the same time? Especially here in India, how would a self-driving car even follow the instructions? Last night from the airport, I was in the car, no traffic lights, no rules.
Of course. That's one part of it, yes.
Exactly.
But which company do you think is best positioned to actually tap this space? Do you think it's actually Google, given that given the kind of leap it has actually made in this, or do you think it could be any other company?
I think there are a lot of companies that are well poised. I actually think it could be a company like Uber that's well poised to bring these self-driving cars and AI into the marketplace. It could be Facebook. They're talking a lot about incorporating messaging and AI assistance into their messenger service. And of course, Google is really pioneering the cars and a lot of the new innovations that are happening with, I know they took Google Glass off the market, but that was really one of the first mainstream examples of augmented reality in our lives. So I think they're doing a lot of exciting.
Spoken a lot, I was reading up that, you've spoken a lot about, how to really make life simple as far as tech tools are concerned. Share with us and what do you think should be the tips that through technology that we can actually use to make our lives simpler?
Well, I think thank you for asking that. I think technology, there's so much opportunity to make our lives wonderful and simple. We can also get really sucked into it and it can make our lives more complicated. So I think the first thing is, in our businesses and our lives, a lot of companies feel pressure to try every new website that starts. I mean, it seems almost every week there's a new social media site, there's a new app, there's this. I actually advise companies to sit back, watch how a new app performs for a few months and really think about what is going to make an impact on their business before they dive in, because most apps burn out very quickly, and so I think it's really good for a company to observe for a little bit and see what's going to make the best use. That'll help not waste resources inside a company. But I also think it's about finding balance. It's about inside a company making sure that employees don't feel pressure to be on email at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, which is going to burn out your workforce, or making sure they know that when they go on vacation, they can unplug on their vacation, because your employees are your best asset as a business, and I think not enough businesses are taking the long-term approach toward employee health and well-being in that regard.
India right now is seeing an explosion, so to say, as far as startups are concerned. The atmosphere has changed completely in the last couple of years. How far away do you think we are from a Silicon Valley kind of an ecosystem, and what, according to you, the Indian government, so to say, needs to do to get there?
I think it could absolutely happen. First of all, I have to say I was very excited to see some of the stats around women startups here, and some of the initiatives the government is doing to encourage women to
become entrepreneurs.
Yes, to giving really easy access to small business loans. So that is really encouraging to me. I think the reason Silicon Valley became Silicon Valley was because they had 3 things going for them. They had top engineering schools, and because of those top engineering schools, a lot of companies started right there because the engineers had started.
Right,
exactly, the talent was there, and then because of that, the investment money came there. So you had this ecosystem where there was talent, schools, and investment money. So I think if India really wants to replicate that, they're going to have to think in those 3 areas too. How do you create the best engineering schools? How do you keep the talent here instead of the talent going off to start companies or joining companies elsewhere? And how do you bring investment capital into the country?
You're also a startup investor or an angel investor to some extent.
Yes.
Is there anything that's exciting you here in India, and what is the kind of stuff that would really excite you from an investor point of view?
Sure. Well, for me, in my portfolio, I love women-founded startups. In Silicon Valley, I think it's fewer than 5% of companies are started by women. In my personal angel investment portfolio, which is about 30 companies, it's about 60% of my portfolio are startups that are founded by women.
Wow.
So, and I have to say, those companies are performing a lot better than the companies with male founders that I've invested in. So for me, I think that makes me really excited about India when I see more and more women in positions of founding startups, leading startups, joining executive roles in them, and I think I'm just really excited to explore more here, especially as I see how telemedicine can make such a huge impact on remote areas of India, education. It's really an exciting opportunity.
But anything that you've probably shortlisted or you would like to come back to maybe in your next trip? Any sort of companies that, or any ideas that you think you would like to come back to maybe? and explore in about a couple of months' time?
Sure, I just learned about an app that women in remote areas can actually learn about maternal health and family planning, and that's having a huge impact in rural areas of India on women actually using contraception more and being more educated in their family planning. So apps like that are really exciting to me, and definitely areas that I'd love to explore more.
You know, one of the biggest debates right now that a lot of startups are really focused on is about net neutrality. As somebody who has a global perspective, help us understand that, you know, should governments draw the line as far as net neutrality is concerned? Should the definition be, you know, as you move along in the ecosystem, you discover the definition? What do you think should really be net neutrality all about?
You know, it's hard for me to answer this question because I'm so biased. I come from a world of Silicon Valley where everyone's screaming, you know, let's disrupt every industry every day, right? So you're not talking to a very neutral party here. For me, I'm just very pro-technology. Anytime that there's barriers to accessing technology or that governments tend to get in the way of regulation is something that I feel stifles innovation. There are definitely areas that kind of regulation is required, but I think we're in a state of the world right now where we should just be encouraging as much innovation as possible, encouraging people to start companies, not putting barriers and boundaries in people's paths of accessing the internet or innovating.
So would you be happy with the government not stepping in, or would you be happy with government coming out with broad contours of, you know, the rules of the game, so to say?
I mean, I think it has to vary country to country. I don't want to sit here.
For somebody like India, you know, where smartphone users are growing very fast, but at the same time, broadband penetration is very, very poor.
That's right.
So, you know, keeping both the goals in mind, what do you think is the kind of recipe that suits India the best?
I mean, I think that whatever we can do to get more internet access in more households, more areas across India. So even if that comes with some form of regulation at first, I'm just pro getting internet into as many areas as possible, because that's where you get job creation, that's where you get education, that's where you get access to opportunity. So I think first you have to get it into the household, then you can think about
the rules.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Randi, before we let you go, one question on what do you think, what are your top apps that you use to really make your life simpler?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I live in New York City, and New York City is all about convenience, all the time getting things delivered to you. So Uber, I use all the time. I don't even own a car anymore in New York City. Instacart and Seamless Web, you can get almost any food delivered to you 24 hours a day. And I'm a huge lover of Broadway and theater, living in New York, so I have a few apps that help me book tickets on last minute notice or see the theater.
So all that, if it happens here, that would interest you as an investor?
Absolutely, especially the arts, theater, women-led startups. That would definitely encourage me here.
Thank you so much, Randi Zuckerberg, for taking out the time.
Thank you.
Pleasure talking to you.
Likewise.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.